Hello, my name is Charles, and I am super excited to talk about today why faith and, super incredible wild dreams may seem insane at first, but are really the most sensible, natural, and beautiful way to live. So, the first analogy and first example we're going to use is the breath. Now, with the breath, you're like, how does this relate to faith, Charles? How does the breath, natural respiration in and out, relate to faith? Well, the way it relates to faith is in in three ways. So first, when we take the breath in, right, we're getting the inhalation, we're essentially getting life, we're getting time, so to speak. And then on the exhalation, we're removing any carbon dioxide on like a physical level, but the breath is leaving us, and there's a space in between the inhalation and the exhalation in which there's essentially nothing occurring. And so the way this relates to faith is if you were to breathe in and breathe out without adulterating or changing your breath in any way. You're trusting that with each breath, you have faith that with each inhalation and exhalation, when you fully let all the carbon dioxide out, that the breath will come back. You may not be able to see that air. You may not be able to tangibly and somehow with the intellect guarantee that the air will be there. Um, but in that same way, like you don't necessarily need to. The faith is shown in the full exhalation and trusting that even in that space where there's no breath, that it'll come back. So you'll that that knowing that even when you let go of, say, breath, even when you let go on the exhalation, the inhalation, the continued life will come. So we could even draw this as, say, to make it more clear, that we could say that the breath is in some way life because it sustains, the human body and the human brain and mind and all this. That breath is life. And so in some way, during the exhalation, we are letting go of life. And then in that same faith and trust, we know by letting go, by exhalation, it's going to come back. It's faith in something that isn't seen. So if we apply this then to faith as a whole and say the Christian tradition, it may not be that you can empirically or with the senses somehow perceive, ah, yes, I can see the burning bush. I can see Jesus arising in this way. But it's that faith in things unseen that you still know will occur, that you let go of the intellect trying to like essentially get certainty in a constant flux. Like life is changing moment to moment, and the intellect is craving this certainty, and that leads to like anxiety because it's running all these calculations based on all these changing conditions that there's just too many variables to conduct. So we let go of that. In that we find that it comes back to us. So for another analogy, and maybe this one will be more clear to to some people. So first, if we imagine the sunrise, right? The sun rises every single day and sets every single day. Now, when you go to bed at night and the sun has set, your brain, if you were to do like a full rational analysis and you were using physics, you could calculate the number of times the sun will appear and disappear. You could run an almost infinite number of variables, or at least attempt to. You never would because you just don't have that time. Um, but you would run an infinite number of calculations trying to see if the sun would rise that day. Um, but in letting go, if you were to have that faith that it is gone now, I cannot see it, I cannot see this sun, The sun has set, it has come down, I can no longer see it, and yet at the same time, you know, each and every day it'll rise once more. So how does this so that's how it relates to faith. In regards to faith, we see that in letting go of some need for some some answer or like calculable variables in the sea of probabilities that is life and all the changing circumstances and conditions, we know that things come back, that in faith in things unseen, they still occur. We may not be able to empirically see them, yet on terms of life, we know they occur. And so, for the last part, in terms of wild dreams, how does this apply to like your dreams in life, for that business you want to start, for a, school, an education you wish to get, for a, travel you want to take, for a book you want to write, for anything in your life you really want to do? How does it relate to that? Everyone on the outside, right? That rational mind is telling them, well, empirically, I cannot see the thing yet manifest. So their brain, it tries to reason and calculate and reason and calculate and reason and calculate and be like, well, I don't see how that's going to happen. Um, but that's where faith in those wild dreams and those big ideas is so, so invaluable. Because you may not know the infinite number of ways that the sun is in the same way as the sun picture here. We may not know the infinite number of ways the sun is experiencing interactions with all the, solar system and everything of that nature, but we have faith that it rises again. And so in big, big dreams, you don't need to have all the, answers or variables and everything solved. You have your direction, you have your knowing, your faith, your trust. This will occur, and you simply take the next indicated right step. Because that's all you can do. With all the variables in life and with the constant flux that is the changing circumstances and conditions of our outer world, we set the faith, which is a sensible thing, given that everything seems to work in that we let go of it and it returns to, right? We experience it, it passes, and then it returns to. We can have that faith in our wild, wild dreams and know that as long as we're taking steps, it will become manifest. And this is in some ways an argument against reason. And that may seem crazy, and that, like, initially to most people, they'll be like, well, that's, reason is so, helpful. It's allowed modern science to save us in so many ways. It's allowed, and it certainly has. But with the incalculable, the sheer volume of variables in this life, it is too much. It is a ridiculous strain on the mind. It would impair respiration if you were to try to consciously, organize all the blood flow in your body that the oxygen is doing. Of course, it's better that we don't know in some ways how, or we don't control all that working. That we know, we trust that with each inhalation and with each exhalation, it occurs. And in the same way with our big dreams, with each simple step, we may not know exactly, how all the circumstances and conditions will guarantee our dream comes together, but in faith and in walking each and every step in that inhalation and exhalation, we'll get there. Hopefully that made some sense and wasn't too rambly. Um, the essential message to each and everyone watching is that both faith and the wildest dreams you could have in this life, what you truly wish to create in the world, are not far from you. Do have faith. Only a mustard seed is required.